There comes a moment, not once, but again and again in every life, when the soul whispers louder than the noise of the world, a moment when comfort becomes suffocation, when fitting in feels like decay, and when the only path forward demands one thing above all else, boldness, not arrogance, not recklessness, but boldness, that rare, defiant fire that stands in the face of fear and dares to say, I will not bow. Look around you. The monuments of history were not built by the timid, the skylines of our cities, the empires of innovation, the symphonies of progress. They are the echoes of minds who refuse to shrink. Every great revolution, internal or global, began not with agreement, but with a soul that said enough, enough of waiting, enough of asking permission, enough of living half alive. The world does not yield its riches to those who wait for certainty. It opens only to those who walk forward while trembling, to those who leap while others hesitate, to those who know that fear is not a stop sign. It's a compass. It points directly to the place where growth lives, where greatness waits, where destiny hides behind a veil of resistance. Thomas Edison wasn't chasing guarantees. He chased possibility. He failed 10,000 times, not because he enjoyed the struggle, but because his vision burned brighter than his fear. He wasn't bold because he had power. He had power because he was bold. He looked at darkness and said, I will bring light. And he did, not because the world told him he could, but because he decided it must be done. And that is the truth. The world doesn't grant power to the bold. The bold claim it. Boldness is the spark that transforms thought into movement, potential into progress, dreams into legacy. It is not a trait you're born with. It is a muscle you forge in the fires of discomfort, failure, and relentless self-belief. But let's be honest, most people never choose boldness, not because they can't, but because boldness demands responsibility. It demands that you own your path. It strips away excuses. It says you are the architect now. No more waiting for permission. No more blaming your past. No more hiding behind distractions, doubts, or delays. Boldness is raw. It's naked. It's truth in motion, and truth for many is terrifying. So they choose safety. They choose the well-trodden path. They choose what's predictable, even if it means never truly living. And that's the great tragedy, that millions will trade the fire of their soul for the comfort of the herd. They'll talk of dreams while burying them under routine. They'll speak of freedom while clinging to the chains of familiarity. But not you. If you're still listening, then somewhere deep inside, you know you were not made to follow blindly. You were not made to live small. You were not born to simply survive this world. You were born to bend it, to shape it, to rise above it. And to do that, you must become bold in mind, in heart, in action. Boldness begins with belief, not belief in what you see, but belief in what you know. The world will not show you your power until you act like it's already yours. This is the secret the greats understood. Henry Ford didn't wait for evidence that his vision would work. He believed it so deeply, so obsessively, that the world had no choice but to catch up. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, he said, you're right. He was speaking not of cars but of consciousness, of that internal decision that makes boldness possible. Belief is the soil from which bold action grows. Without it, every idea becomes a question mark. Every challenge becomes a wall. But with it, there are no walls, only doors waiting to be kicked open. You must choose to believe not because you have all the answers, but because you are the answer. You are the force. You are the fire. And if that belief is strong enough, the world will bend. Not instantly, not without resistance, but inevitably. Understand this. Clarity is not a gift the bold receive. It is a reward they earn. You won't find your path by overthinking. You won't find it by endlessly planning. You find it by moving, by trying, by failing, by adjusting. The bold don't wait for perfect vision before they act. They act, and that action sharpens their vision. Walt Disney was not handed a blueprint for an empire. He was fired for lacking imagination. He was told he wasn't creative enough, but he saw what others couldn't. A dream so big, so alive in his mind that no rejection could kill it. He faced bankruptcy. He faced betrayal. And still he pushed forward. That's boldness. Not just dreaming, but daring to build the dream while the world calls you foolish. And when that dream begins to take form, when your clarity turns to purpose, the fire becomes a furnace. You no longer need motivation. you become it. Purpose is the fuel that keeps the bold from collapsing when the storms hit, because they will hit. Make no mistake, the moment you step into your vision, the world will test you. It will throw every reason to stop, every voice, every fear, every distraction. But here's the truth. Pain is not the enemy. Doubt is not the enemy. Discomfort is not the enemy. Inaction is, because when you move, even when you're unsure, even when it's messy, you reclaim your power, and that power multiplies. Boldness feeds itself. Every step taken through fear becomes a foundation. Every act of courage builds a new layer of belief. So move, speak, create, lead. You don't need to know the whole path. You just need to take the next bold step, and the next and the next. And when you fall, not if, but when, fall like a lion. Fall forward. Let your scars tell stories of fire and rebirth, not fear and retreat, because the world does not remember the ones who played it safe. It remembers the ones who roared in the face of uncertainty and moved anyway. The bold understand something the world forgets. Discipline is the highest form of freedom, not the absence of rules, not chasing every whim. True freedom is the ability to command yourself, to say no to mediocrity, to rise when no one is watching, to choose growth over ease, effort over comfort, purpose over pleasure. This is the domain of the bold, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. While others seek shortcuts, they seek strength. While others chase validation, they chase mastery, because they know the truth. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you're willing to become, and becoming requires discipline. Not once, not twice, relentlessly. Boldness is not a moment. It's a lifestyle. It's how you breathe, how you walk, how you speak, how you show up when it's raining, when you're tired, when no one claps. It's who you are, when the fire burns low, and no one is around to see if you still believe, because that's when it counts. Not when it's easy, but when it's essential. You think Carnegie built his empire on good days alone. You think Lincoln held this country together through comfort. You think Oprah rose from poverty to power without facing doubt, attack, and the crushing weight of legacy. No, they were not handed the crown. They forged it in fire. Their discipline became their destiny. Their commitment to the vision outlasted the noise, outlived the critics, and outshined the odds. You must become that focused, that grounded, that dangerous, because action without discipline is noise. Passion without structure is chaos. Vision without execution is delusion. The bold don't just dream, they do. They rise at dawn while the world sleeps. They create when no one's watching. They train when no one's clapping, because they understand this. Success is not an accident. It is earned in silence, paid for in repetition, and revealed in the storm. And here's the secret. The bold are not fearless. They are used to fear. They've trained with it, danced with it. They no longer flinch at discomfort. They seek it, because every time they lean into resistance, they expand their edge. And it is at that edge, your edge, that life begins. You've been taught to avoid resistance, to stay where it's easy, safe, approved. But comfort is a cage with golden bars. It looks appealing, but it kills your potential slowly. Boldness breaks that cage. It tears through the illusion of someday and demands you act now, because someday is a liar. Someday is where dreams go to die. The bold understand that today, this moment, is all you've got, and that is enough. So act, not perfectly, not when you feel ready. Act boldly. Let the world feel your presence. Let your actions speak so loud they shake doubt into silence. Because if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. And if your fear doesn't provoke action, it will become a prison. This is the law. Boldness over time becomes inevitability. There is no force more magnetic than a human who knows what they want and moves toward it, like their life depends on it, because it does. Your clarity must become conviction. Your purpose must become obsession. Your actions must become proof. You must live in such alignment with your vision that hesitation feels foreign, that quitting feels impossible, that even in the face of chaos, you continue, not blindly, but fiercely, with your eyes open, your mind sharp, your heart on fire. And when you feel lost, because you will, return to the truth. Clarity is not found in stillness, it's found in movement. Move boldly, and the fog clears. Move boldly, and the path reveals itself. Not all at once, but in steps. You are not meant to see the whole staircase. You are meant to take the first step, and trust that the next will appear. You must trust yourself. That is the foundation of all boldness. Not arrogance, not blind faith, but earned trust, built through every choice to rise, to speak, to create, to keep going. When logic says stop, you must train your nervous system to feel fear and move anyway. You must train your mind to hold the vision while the world throws distractions. You must train your soul to stay awake, because the greatest battle is not external, it is the war within. And this war is won not in grand gestures but in daily choices. The decision to write when uninspired, to build when unacknowledged, to give when you feel empty, to persist when results are invisible. These are the sacred acts of the bold, and the world rewards them. Slowly, yes, but surely. Not always with applause, but always with evolution, because every act of courage is a seed. Every risk is an invitation. Every bold step is a message to the universe. I am ready, and the universe always replies. Maybe not how you expect, maybe not when you want, but always with a mirror, showing you who you are becoming. And if you remain bold long enough, the reflection becomes unshakable. This is not philosophy. This is reality. The most dangerous people in the world are not the loudest. They are the most certain, the ones who've burned the bridge back to average, the ones who've decided that greatness is not a luxury, it is their standard. And every day in the silence of early mornings and the solitude of long nights, they act accordingly. Let the world doubt you. Let it question your pace, your dream, your fire, because boldness isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about choosing to believe that the life you envision isn't a fantasy, but a responsibility, a duty to yourself, to your future, to the world that needs what only you can give. So stop asking for signs. Become the sign. Stop waiting for motivation. Be the momentum. Stop hoping someone will choose you. Choose yourself. Again and again and again. Because the bold are not lucky. They are relentless. They are the storm. And the world, for all its chaos, complexity, and resistance, rewards them, not because it favors them, but because it cannot ignore them. Resilience is not a trait. It's a decision. A choice to rise when it would be easier to stay down. A vow to stand when the wind howls, when the ground shakes, when everything you've built seems to crack. The bold don't pretend it's easy. They prepare for the storm, because they know everything worthwhile will be tested. Every dream will be questioned. Every mountain will throw its snow. But the bold do not fear adversity. They invite it, not because they want to suffer, but because they understand that pressure builds strength, fire forges steel. And the path to anything legendary will be marked by moments that demand everything from you, and then more. When Abraham Lincoln faced a nation on the brink of collapse, he wasn't seeking applause. He was standing on the edge of history with a spine made of conviction. He had failed in business, lost elections, buried children, fought depression. But when the world needed steadiness, he didn't run. He led. That's boldness. Not the absence of pain, but the refusal to let it define you. You will be knocked down. That's a guarantee. You will be betrayed, underestimated, laughed at. But boldness doesn't flinch. It doesn't ask, why me? It asks, what now? Every wound becomes a story. Every scar becomes proof. Every setback becomes fuel. Because here's the truth. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. The bold don't suffer in silence. They alchemize pain into purpose. They take the broken pieces and build something stronger, more grounded, more powerful. But to do that, you need one more thing: adaptability. You must be rooted in your vision, but flexible in your path, because the road will change. The conditions will shift. What once worked will stop working. And if you cling to the old when the new is calling, you will break. The bold bend, but never fold. They pivot, but never retreat. They know how to evolve. That's what separates the bold from the stubborn. The bold don't need to be right. They need to be real. They don't worship their plan. They serve their mission. And if the plan needs to burn so the mission can rise, they light the match themselves. This is how the bold survive, not by brute force, but by wisdom, by knowing when to hold the line and when to reinvent the game. Because success is not a straight line, it's a maze, and the bold are not just warriors. They are architects, strategists, artists of reinvention. Think of Steve Jobs, exiled from his own company, discarded by the machine he built, and yet he returned, sharper, clearer, bolder. He didn't shrink, he transformed. That's the code. When life breaks you down, rebuild better, not bitter, not smaller, better. This requires humility, the quiet strength to say, I don't know everything, while having the audacity to say, but I will figure it out. The bold are not rigid. They are alive. They learn, adjust, adapt, and overcome, not once, but perpetually. Because in a world that never stops changing, the bold are the ones who refuse to stand still, and as they grow, they give. The bold are not just takers. They are givers of fire. They lift others because they've tasted defeat. They speak truth because they've walked through silence. They radiate strength because they've endured the shattering. Gratitude is their compass, not a cliche, not a soft idea, but a force. Because when you're truly bold, you see the beauty in the battle. You don't need everything to go your way to be grateful. You're grateful because you get to go at all. You get to rise. You get to create. You get to try again. This perspective is everything. The bold don't wait for success to feel joy. They bring joy to the process. They see lessons in the chaos, gold in the dirt, miracles in the mundane. And that mindset, that rare awakened state, is what magnetizes progress, because life is not responding to your hustle. It's responding to your energy. When you show up with gratitude, even for the grind, the universe opens its hand. When you act with boldness born from deep purpose, doors move. People notice. Opportunities emerge, not by magic, but by alignment. The world bends not for force, but for clarity in motion. So be clear, not about how that will shift, but about why. Why you rise, why you fight, why you choose to be bold even when silence is safer. Let your why be so strong, it silences every excuse. Let it burn in your bones. Let it drive your mornings and quiet your nights. Because you don't rise once and stay risen. You rise daily. You choose the fire again and again. And each time you do, you become something more. Not just bolder, not just stronger, but truer, closer to who you were before the world told you to shrink. And this is where greatness lives. Not in titles, not in trophies, but in truth. In the deep soul-cutting truth that you showed up fully, that you chose boldness over safety, that you lived, not as a reaction, but as a declaration. Let that be your legacy. Boldness is not just for those who want to succeed. It is for those who refuse to leave this world untouched. The bold do not come to merely exist. They come to change something, to leave fingerprints on time, to echo through history not by accident but by design. And what is that design? It is not etched in stone. It is forged each day, with every decision to stretch beyond comfort, to move despite fear, to speak when silence would be safer. The bold do not wait for a guarantee. They become the guarantee through relentless movement, through radical ownership, through complete immersion in the game of life, not as spectators, but as players. Because boldness isn't born in theory. It's born in action, in sweat, in solitude. In the 4 a.m. wake-ups when the dream still seems a lifetime away. In the cold calls, the failed launches, the empty bank accounts, the locked doors. Boldness grows when you keep knocking anyway. You must understand, the world is not fair, but it is responsive. It will not hand you a crown, but it will notice the one you forge yourself, and it will test you again and again, not to destroy you, but to see if you are real, if you are ready. Most people are not. Most are pretending. They talk of purpose but live in hesitation. They speak of dreams but build their lives around fear. They stay in the waiting room, hoping life will eventually call their name. But the bold walk straight through the door, not because it's open, but because they've decided it's theirs. You were not born to beg for permission. You were born to command your space, not with arrogance, but with truth. The bold know they have something the world needs, even when the world hasn't caught up yet. And so they speak, they build, they move again and again, until the noise fades and the results roar. And what are results? Not just wealth, not just applause. Results are impact. Results are the legacy carved from decades of defiant belief. Results are the people changed by your voice, your art, your example. People who rise because you refuse to fold. This is the ripple effect of boldness. It multiplies. It awakens. When one person chooses courage, it gives others permission to do the same. That's why the bold are dangerous, not because of their ambition, but because of their influence. Because they remind the world what's possible, and once a person sees what's possible, they can never unsee it. That's your responsibility, not to play small, so others feel comfortable, but to rise so others feel inspired, to step so fully into your potential that your life becomes a mirror, showing others what they're capable of when they stop hiding. And that requires one more trait: vision. The bold see before others believe. They walk by faith, not sight. They hold a picture in their mind so vivid, so visceral, that it becomes more real than the current moment. And that vision fuels them, not just when they win, but especially when they lose, because losing is part of the climb. The bold don't avoid it. They use it. Every no sharpens their focus. Every failure clarifies the mission. They don't see obstacles as signs to quit. They see them as invitations to grow. The bigger the vision, the greater the resistance. That's the trade-off. That's the deal. And the bold accept it. Gladly. They know the enemy is not failure. It's stagnation. It's living the same year over and over and calling it life. The bold break that cycle. They chase discomfort. They choose challenge, because they know growth is never found in ease. It is found at the edge of your fear, the edge of your strength, the edge of your identity. And when you live there long enough, you begin to evolve, not slowly, not gradually, but quantum leaps, new levels of awareness, new levels of ability, not because you were given a gift, but because you unlocked it, through sweat, through silence, through sheer will. This is what separates the remembered from the forgotten. Not just talent, not luck, but will. A will so strong that it bends reality. A will so unwavering that it commands respect before success ever arrives. That will lives in you. It's not something you need to find. It's something you need to unleash. Strip away the noise. Silence the critics, especially the one in your own mind, and act boldly, unapologetically, with all the fire, focus, and faith you can summon, because no one is coming to do it for you. No mentor, no guru, no perfect moment. It's on you. And that is the most terrifying and the most liberating truth you'll ever face. When you finally take full ownership of your path, the world changes, not because the rules changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting. You started creating. You stopped shrinking. You started leading. And suddenly the world responds. Doors open. People listen. Momentum builds. And the things you once thought impossible, they begin to bow to your presence. Because this is what happens when a human being chooses boldness. Consistently, the universe aligns. Time expands. Life begins to reward you. Not because you're special, but because you showed up in a way most never do. And that's the secret. The world does not reward those who almost did. It does not reward the timid, the hesitant, the apologetic. It rewards the bold. The bold are not remembered because they were lucky. They are remembered because they decided they would be. Because in a world begging for silence, they spoke. In a world seduced by safety, they leaped. In a world paralyzed by fear, they moved. Not because it was easy, not because they were fearless, but because they refused to be ruled by hesitation. And so, history makes room for them, because history does not remember the comfortable. It remembers the committed. It does not celebrate the cautious. It celebrates the courageous. Those who lived as though their life meant something. Those who treated every moment as sacred. Every breath is borrowed. Every step is a statement. This world, this brutal, beautiful world, will break you if you let it. It will bury you in expectations. It will hand you a script and beg you to never improvise. It will sell you comfort, distraction, and safety. And if you accept that deal, you will spend your life watching others live while you merely exist. But if you refuse, if you reject the script, burn the excuses, destroy the ceiling, and choose boldness, everything changes. Because suddenly you're no longer asking the world for permission. You're telling it who you are. You're no longer reacting to life. You're directing it, living not as a whisper, but as a roar. And it begins now, not tomorrow, not when you have more money, not when you feel more ready, not when the fear goes away. It begins now, with the next breath, the next step, the next decision to speak your truth, to chase your fire, to move through the fear, not around it, to do what most never will, and become what most never can. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too ordinary. You are right on time, carrying everything you need to rewrite your life in real time. But it requires a declaration, a decision so clear, so final, that there's no turning back, because the bold do not leave escape hatches. They burn the boats. They look at the shore behind them and set it on fire, so there is no option but forward, no direction but through. And through is where strength is built. Through is where greatness lives. Through is where you meet the version of yourself who was always waiting, the one who never asked for less, never settled, never shrank, never doubted their worth. And when you meet that version of yourself, not in fantasy, but in reality, something deep inside you awakens. You see it clearly. The world was never against you. It was waiting for you to decide, waiting for you to drop the masks, the fears, the hesitation, and step fully into the arena. And now, here you are. The edge is before you, the noise behind you, and one question remains. Will you leap? Will you risk being seen? Will you trade comfort for conviction, applause for authenticity, safety for significance? Because the clock is ticking. And the bold do not wait. The bold move. They build. They lead. They create meaning from nothing. They live fully, knowing the cost, and choosing it anyway, because they know it is better to be wounded in pursuit of purpose than to be untouched in a life of regret. It is better to be broken on the battlefield than whole in a cage. It is better to live 1 year wide awake than 80 years on autopilot. So rise, not someday, now, with fire in your gut, with purpose in your breath, with a vision in your eyes that makes the ground beneath you shake. You were not born to repeat history. You were born to make it. You were not born to blend in. You were born to break through, and you will, because this is the moment, this is the hour, this is the life, and this is why the world rewards the bold. Stillness now, not silence. Stillness. The kind that only comes after the storm has passed and something in you has shifted forever. You feel it now, don't you? That pulse, that presence, that knowing, not the frantic hunger of ambition, but the grounded power of realization. You are not chasing anymore. You are becoming. And this is where most miss the truth. They think boldness is loud, aggressive, always in motion. But the boldest force in the universe is not noise. It's clarity. When the noise dies down and you're left with only your breath, only your soul, only your reflection, what remains? The world doesn't just reward the bold who scream. It rewards the bold who see, who listen, who sit with themselves long enough to hear the quiet voice beneath the chaos. The voice that says, this is who you are. This is what you were born to build. This is the work only you can do. That voice is not given to you by books or videos or gurus. It is unlocked by fire, by showing up again and again and again until the voice becomes louder than your fears and clearer than your doubts. And when it does, a shift happens. You no longer chase approval. You radiate authenticity. You no longer beg for direction. You move from inner alignment. You no longer fear rejection because you've already accepted the most important truth. You are enough as you are. But that truth isn't soft. It's not permission to sit down. It's the invitation to rise higher, not to prove, not to impress, but to express the divine code running through your veins. Your life is not an accident. It is an assignment, and that assignment demands your full presence. It demands decisions that make no sense to the crowd, but perfect sense to your calling. It demands walking alone, misunderstood, mocked, because destiny is personal, not democratic, and it demands boldness, not sometimes, always, even in the small things, especially in the small things. Waking up when the bed whispers stay, speaking your truth when your voice shakes, choosing integrity when shortcuts scream your name, showing up when the world tells you to shut up. That's boldness, not just on the mountaintop but in the valley, not just in victory but in the waiting, because that's where most give up, in the waiting, in the unseen, in the seasons where there's no applause, no spotlight, no likes, but the bold know that's where the real work happens. That's where the roots grow deep, where character is carved, where spirit is sharpened, where you either become the person who was almost great or the person who finally stepped into everything they were born to be. And so the call remains, louder now, clearer now, because you've heard the truth, and once you've heard it, you can't go back. You can't unknow, you can't unsee, you can't unfeel the power that's been sleeping in you your entire life, waiting for this moment. The moment you finally said, I'm done hiding, I'm done waiting, I'm done playing small. I will speak, I will move, I will lead, I will live like it matters, because it does. You do. And this is why the world rewards the bold, not with comfort, but with immortality, not with ease, but with impact, not with applause, but with legacy. So go, stand up, take the shot, launch the dream, make the call, face the fear, write the book, start the movement, burn the plan, begin the new one. Do what the small version of you never believed was possible. Do it afraid. Do it unsure. Do it broken. Do it bold. Because this is your time. And this is why the world not always right away, not without cost, not without pain, but eventually, inevitably, undeniably, rewards the bold. Breathe. Not just to calm your mind, but to remember you're still here. And if you're here, it's not over. You haven't seen your final form. You haven't written your last chapter. You haven't made your boldest move. You may have fallen. You may have failed. You may have watched everything you built turn to ash. Good. Because now you know what it costs. Now you know what it takes. Now you know what matters. This is where the bold are born. Not when everything goes right, but when everything falls apart and you still rise, still choose your mission, still believe in your vision, still declare your worth, not with words, but with work. That's the real difference. The bold do when others doubt. The bold move when others wait. The bold lead when others follow the noise. And the bold fail more than anyone, because they try more than anyone. But here's what they understand. Failure is not final. Failure is feedback. Failure is friction that sharpens the blade. And if you never feel the friction, you're not doing anything real. You're safe. You're hidden. You're forgettable. But you weren't born for that. You weren't born for the background. You were born to walk into the fire and become the one who could not be broken. Not because life was easy, but because you refused to surrender. That is what the world watches for. That is what the universe answers to. Not your words, not your intentions, your pattern of persistence, the discipline of showing up, the character of continuing, the audacity to say, even if it takes years, I will not stop. That's the moment things shift. That's when the resistance breaks. That's when people feel your power before you say a word. You enter the room differently. You carry yourself differently because you earned who you became, and you know it. There is no arrogance in it, only truth. You didn't download boldness. You didn't get it from a book. You forged it in pain, in pressure, in solitude, in the hours where no one clapped, and you kept going anyway. That's where the bold are built, where legends are made. And here's the secret. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most talented. You just have to be the one who refuses to disappear, the one who doesn't need the world's permission to move, because boldness is not a feeling, it's a choice, and every time you choose it, life rearranges itself around you. Opportunities shift, people show up, ideas flow, doors open. Why? Because you are now aligned with a higher law, the law that says those who move boldly through the world are met by forces just as bold in return, not always right away, but always, because boldness is energy, it's vibration, it's a declaration to life that you are ready to be met, and life responds to readiness. It does not give rewards to the most deserving, it gives them to the most committed, and commitment looks like this: doing it scared, doing it tired, doing it when they mock you, doing it when no one believes yet, doing it when it doesn't make sense, doing it anyway. And every time you do, you build something deeper than success. You build identity. You become the person who doesn't quit. You become the person who cannot be ignored. You become the person who, no matter how many times the world says no, becomes the reason it finally says yes. That's who you are becoming. Not just bold, but unbreakable. And that is why this message isn't motivation. It is not hype. It is remembrance, a sacred, unstoppable remembering of who you've always been beneath the fear, the noise, the delay. And now, no more waiting, no more doubt, no more apology. This is it. This is the moment you commit to becoming the boldest version of you that's ever walked this earth. Because when you do, the world will feel it, the stars will move for it, and life will open for you in ways that make no logical sense. Because boldness bends the laws of probability. It redefines what's possible. It creates miracles from momentum, and it begins right here, right now, with you. So rise, stand taller, move faster, speak louder, live bolder, because your name is not maybe, your future is not someday, and your mission is not if it's convenient. You were sent here to shake the ground, to awaken generations, to lead movements, to break chains, and that destiny belongs not to the timid, not to the passive, not to the almost ready, but to the bold. So go like your soul is on fire, go like your ancestors are watching, go like your name matters, go like your time has come, because it has. And this is why the world, not by chance, but by divine design, rewards the bold. And so, if you're still listening, if something in your chest is still burning, then the message wasn't meant to end, because the bold never truly stop. They just evolve. Every summit only reveals the next mountain. Every victory whispers of a higher battlefield. And every bold act, no matter how small, builds a legacy that ripples through time. You see, the bold understand something that the world keeps forgetting, that life is not about arriving safely at death. That the point of all this is not survival, but significance, not safety, but soul, not to escape struggle, but to be transformed by it. The bold aren't chasing finish lines. They are becoming fire, and fire doesn't ask permission. Fire doesn't wait for approval. Fire doesn't apologize for burning. It just burns, relentlessly, radiantly, authentically, because that's what it was made to do. And so were you. You weren't built to hide your flame beneath the opinions of the unlit. You weren't built to water down your calling just to fit in with the crowd. You were built to ignite, to walk through the world so fully alive that others remember how to breathe just by being near you. But that kind of presence, it is earned through 1,000 quiet decisions when no one's watching, through the refusal to numb, to shrink, to self-abandon, even when the path is dark. Because the bold know purpose is found in the doing, not the doubting. Clarity is found in motion, not meditation. Confidence is forged in confrontation, not comfort. And transformation is born in sacrifice. So yes, it will cost you your old identity, your familiar fears, your comfortable excuses. But what you gain is everything. You gain the life that was meant for you, not the one the world sold you. You gain the truth of who you are, not the mask you learn to wear. You gain the peace that only comes when your soul and your steps match. And if you want that, truly want it, then you must declare it with your life. Not once, not for a season, but as a way of being. Because boldness is not something you turn on when you're inspired. Boldness is a lifestyle. It's how you wake up. It's how you speak. It's how you walk into every room, like your existence matters, because it does. And the world is starving for that kind of presence. It's starving for the unshakable, the unfiltered, the fully alive, not the influencers, not the imitators, but the originators, the creators of new maps, not because they had all the answers, but because they had the courage to begin where no one else did. And maybe that's you. Maybe you've always felt it, the pull to something more. Maybe you've always known that playing it safe was a betrayal of everything burning inside you. Maybe you've had enough of dimming your own brilliance just to make others comfortable. Then hear this. Your time has come. Not later. Not when they understand you. Not when you feel worthy. Now. Because worthiness is not earned through waiting. It is activated through bold movement. Through the day you finally say, no more hesitation. No more compromise. No more delay. I am here and I am done waiting to be chosen. Because the bold don't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. And when they do, the universe bends. It moves. It makes way. Because boldness carries the weight of inevitability. It is not if. It is not maybe. It is when. And that when becomes now. Not because the world is ready, but because you finally are. So take the leap. Write the truth. Show the scars. Break the silence. Build the thing. Say the words. Become the leader you've been seeking your whole life. And when the fear rises, smile. Because fear is just a compass, pointing you to exactly where your soul was meant to grow. And if you're feeling it now, good. That means you're close. So close, in fact, that you can already feel the next version of you breathing through your skin, waiting, watching, asking only one thing. Will you rise? Not halfway, not on weekends, not when it's convenient. Will you rise with everything, with your pain, with your power, with your imperfection and your passion, with the wild truth that you are worthy now, not someday? Will you show the world what it looks like when one human being stops waiting and becomes fully alive? Because that's what it means to be bold. Not perfect, just real. Not fearless, just willing. Not certain, just committed. And when you live like that, when you embody that, the world has no choice but to respond. So move. Move like your soul remembers what your mind forgot. Move like every step is a prayer and every act is prophecy. Move like history is watching, because it is. And this is why the world will never forget the bold.